You know that feeling when you're in a team meeting or just working alongside colleagues, and you can just feel the friction.
Oh, yeah. That unspoken tension.
Exactly. Maybe it's disagreements simmering under the surface, maybe something more obvious, but it's there, and you kind of wish it would just go away.
We've all been there, for sure. That frustration when conflict isn't being dealt with.
Right. So today, we're going deep. We're looking at understanding and, more importantly, actually managing those tricky team conflicts.
We've pulled together some really interesting insights. We looked at conflict management in diverse teams from Diversio. There's a great piece from org-360.com.
Yeah, that one. Even though it's originally in Hebrew, the ideas are universal. And we've got perspectives from Wikipedia and Faster Capital, too. So
Quite a range.
definitely. And our mission really is to equip you with some practical knowledge, some tools, so you can help turn those conflicts from, a source of stress.
Into something productive.
Yeah. Into an actual opportunity for your team to grow, get stronger, maybe even collaborate better. Okay, so let's dig in.
Sounds good. What really jumps out from the sources, especially org-360.com, is just how, normal conflict is. It's pretty much inevitable.
Especially now, right? Teams are more diverse, the work is complex.
Exactly. Disagreements are bound to happen, and org-360 mentions studies showing a significant chunk of employees face workplace conflict pretty regularly.
Wow. Okay, so if it's that common, what's the big deal if we just ignore it, let it blow over?
Well, that's where the risks come in. Ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. Org-360 and Wikipedia are quite clear on the downsides.
Like that.
You start seeing cooperation just plummet. People aren't as willing to help each other out.
Right. Communication breaks down.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that leads to mistakes, missed deadlines, you name it. Productivity takes a hit, performance suffers.
And I imagine relationships get strained too. That must affect the whole team atmosphere.
Absolutely. It poisons the wall, like you said earlier. And it's not just about feelings. There are real financial costs too. Unresolved conflict means lost time, wasted effort.
Yeah.
It adds up for the organization.
Okay, so ignoring it is definitely not the answer. But you mentioned conflict isn't always bad. How can it possibly be good?
That's the interesting shift in perspective. The sources, like org-360 and Wikipedia, they suggest that if you manage it well, conflict can actually be beneficial.
Beneficial how?
It can push teams to learn, to find better solutions they wouldn't have thought of otherwise. It can even, believe it or not, strengthen people's commitment to the team when they feel heard and issues get resolved fairly.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about how you approach it. I remember reading about different orientations, like lose-lose, win-lose.
Wikipedia and that workplace conflict piece talk about that. Lose-lose is obviously bad. Win-lose creates resentment.
But the goal is win-win, right?
Yeah.
Through collaboration.
Yeah, exactly. Finding a solution where everyone feels their core needs are met. And Diversio adds a really crucial point here. Managers are key. They have to model how to handle disagreements constructively.
Setting the example. Okay, so let's get practical. What tools or strategies can people actually use?
Well, a big one, highlighted by Diversio and org-360, is fostering open and, importantly, inclusive communication. Meaning creating a space where people feel genuinely safe to speak up, to share their views, even the dissenting ones, without fear of retribution.
That sounds good, but how do you create that safety?
Diversio suggests managers can lead by example, share their own challenges sometimes, actively ask for feedback, and crucially, listen thoughtfully and show that feedback is being considered.
So it's not just lip service. People need to see their input matters.
Precisely. And the inclusive part is vital, especially with diverse teams. People have different backgrounds, cultures, communication styles.
Generational differences too, I bet.
Absolutely. So inclusive communication means being aware of those differences and adapting. Diversio even mentions specific training can help managers navigate this.
And org-360 brings up active listening here, right? As a core skill.
Yes, it's foundational, not just waiting for your turn to talk, but really concentrating on understanding the other person's message, their perspective.
Okay, so communication is key. What else?
Building on that understanding piece, another source emphasized looking beyond just what people say they want their stated position.
You mean digging deeper?
Exactly. Trying to grasp the underlying emotions, the real needs and concerns driving their position. The advice is, don't assume you know why someone feels a certain way. Give them a chance to explain the why behind their stance.
That requires patience, I imagine, not jumping to conclusions.
Definitely. It prevents misunderstandings escalating the conflict.
Interesting. Now, Diversio mentioned something about data, people analytics.
Yeah, that's a more modern approach. Using tools, like their platform apparently, to get real-time insights into team dynamics.
How does that help with conflict?
Well, the idea is that data can flag potential tension spots early on, maybe identify patterns, and then it can suggest specific, tailored solutions to address those issues proactively, making the whole process more efficient.
Using data to guide interventions.
Okay.
And there were a couple of other techniques mentioned too.
Right. Faster Capital briefly touched on the 5 whys technique. Super simple concept, really.
Just keep asking why.
Pretty much. You ask why repeatedly about a problem to drill down past the symptoms and find the actual root cause. Surprisingly effective for getting to the heart of an issue.
I can see that. And there was another model, ICCAP.
Yes, from Org 360. That's a bit more structured. ICK stands for Identify, Clarify, Address, and Prevent.
Okay, break that down.
So first, identify the actual conflict. Then clarify everyone's different perspectives and needs that active listening part. Then address the core issues collaboratively. And finally, figure out how to prevent similar conflicts popping up again. It's a systematic way through it.
That sounds really useful. It's good to have a framework. You know, sometimes seeing a real example helps cement these ideas.
Yeah.
Org 360 had that case study, right? About the school principals.
Yes, that was a great illustration. There was this ongoing conflict between principals about how resources and teaching hours were being divvied up.
Causing friction, I bet.
Big time. It was apparently really hurting their ability to work together. So the education division manager stepped in.
Did they just dictate a solution?
No, and that's the key. They brought in an external consultant, a neutral third party, to mediate.
Smart move. What did the mediator do?
They started with individual chats, talked to each principal separately to really get their side, understand their position, their needs, what they hoped for.
Getting that deeper understanding we talked about.
Exactly. Then they held a joint workshop, got everyone together to work collaboratively on defining clear, unified criteria for resource allocation. They actually agreed on streamlining things together.
And the outcome? Did it work?
Apparently, yes. The case study reported a significant improvement in cooperation between the principals afterwards, and a much better sense of fairness about the whole process.
Wow. So that structured, facilitated approach really made a difference.
It shows it's possible to turn things around, even when relationships are strained.
Okay, so if we boil this all down,
Mm-hmm.
the main takeaway seems to be that conflict, while maybe uncomfortable, isn't the enemy.
Not at all. It's natural. It happens, especially when you bring diverse people and ideas together. The key is how you handle it.
It holds potential for positive change if managed well.
Absolutely. If you encourage that open, inclusive communication, if you really try to understand the needs underneath the surface arguments, and if you use some of these practical tools and strategies.
Like active listening, or maybe that ICP model.
Right. You can navigate these situations way more effectively. And the end result is often a stronger, more resilient, more productive team.
It's about building that capability within the team.
Mm-hmm. Making conflict resolution a skill, not just a reaction.
So here's a thought for everyone listening. Think back to a recent conflict you saw or were part of in a team setting. Now, reflecting on what we've discussed, the importance of digging for those underlying needs, the power of really listening, maybe even the idea of a structured approach. How might applying some of that have changed the situation?
That's a great reflection exercise.
Maybe even, look up some resources on active listening or inclusive communication techniques. It's about shifting that perspective, isn't it?
Right.
Moving from just dreading conflict to seeing it as a chance, maybe even an obligation, to build something better together.